Welcome to the Angler Talk Podcast with Chris and Aaron. Brought to you by FishingMagicianTV.com.
What is up, everybody? It's Chris back again with another episode of Angler Talk. And here in Jersey, March 1st was the opening day for striped bass fishing. It has not been disappointing. I personally have not gotten out there just yet, but we will soon. But I have been all over the social media webs, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, you name it. I've been on it. I've been seeing the pictures. They are out there. The fish are being caught from the beach using worms. Of course, this time of year, that is the go-to. And get out there and bend some rods. Can't catch them from the couch, guys. Come on. Anyway, this episode, I do have a guest from the state of Kentucky by the name of Jared Kemper. We're going to talk to Jared. We're going to find out his background and bring something to you that you, the angler, have been looking for the entire time social media has been out there. Don't miss out. Check it out, and I hope you guys enjoy. And here I am with Jared Kemper from DIEHARD Anglers. How's it going, brother? How you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I can't complain, man. It's just a long day, and now I get to decompress and talk some fishing with you, man. So, you are based out of Kentucky, correct?
That's right.
And how is the fishing out there in Kentucky? How did it all start for you?
How it all started for me, man. Dad took me fishing in a little pond close by where we used to live one time. He didn't do a lot of fishing growing up or whatever, but I went fished that little pond, ended up catching a crappie that my neighbor said might have been a state record if Dad wouldn't have slayed it. It was huge, man. And
awesome.
I was so proud holding that crappie up, and just as they say, I was hooked, man, right from the beginning. So I grew up asking for Bassmaster magazine for Christmas every year, and Mom and Dad's like, "You don't want nothing else?" I was like, "No, I want the little free gifts and whatever little pouch I can carry my baits in, because I didn't really have a tackle box, and wanted to read more about it and learn more about it so I could get better at it." And grew up doing that every year, just getting Bassmaster magazine, watching TV shows every Saturday and Sunday, and just was in love with it, and moved closer to my grandparents, and they had a pond on their property, and I ended up having it stocked or whatever, and that's where I lived at, was down at the pond in front of the house, or I went down to the backwaters of the lake and had my mom drop me off early in the day. I'd walk all the way, miles and miles, to a bridge, and still wasn't at the main lake. I live on a big lake, Lake Cumberland.
Okay.
But I would walk for hours and hours down through there fishing, and then come back by 4 or 5 o'clock. She'd be down the parking lot, meet me, pick me up, take me home, man. So that's really all I done as a child, man, was just fishing as much as possible.
That's awesome, man. And that's how it pretty much it starts for most of us. When we get that young age, when our fathers or whatever takes us fishing, and we feel that tug, and that tug becomes a drug, man. There's nothing like it. And I totally understand what you're saying. And you're in Kentucky, so you're more in a landlocked state. You don't have the ocean like I do. But you did say you catch crappie. And I know from that beautiful logo I see in the back, bassing is your thing, man. So what other type of species you guys got in Kentucky, and what else did you grow up fishing?
I grew up catching some catfish we had in our pond, and every now and then I would try to go catch some at the lake, the backwaters that I fished, and whatever would bite, man, was what I would catch. I didn't care. I had a couple of carp in the pond, just to keep the grass scum and stuff out of it. And I'd be throwing topwater plugs at them things. They were like 3 foot long. Whenever you got one to bite, dude, they would fight so hard. I mean, it was a great time.
That's awesome.
So, I've done that. And then, as I've got older or whatever, our lake is actually stocked with striper. And we have some pretty big striper in our lake. What's crazy is I grew up riding a bus with a boy, and his dad holds a state record to this day. So I would used to go down there and play basketball with him at his house and stuff. And I'd be like, hey man, can we go downstairs and look at that fish your dad's got on the wall? I just want to see it again. I mean, it's massive, like 55 pounds or something. I mean, it's huge.
Oh, that's
So
freaking awesome, man! You started talking about stripers. Now in New Jersey, the striped bass is the game fish of our state, and we get some big girls over here. My personal best striped bass is 57.6 pounds. And how big are they getting over there in Kentucky?
most of them aren't that big. Uh,
Yeah.
but I think his was somewhere in the neighborhood of 54, 56 pounds, something like that. And
Wow.
that was, yeah, and that was back, I'm wanting to say in the late 80s, early 90s or something that he caught that. Um,
That's
Roger
awesome.
Foster is his name. You can check it out sometime online. It's a big one.
Definitely, man. I mean, to catch a 54-pound landlocked striper, that's a pretty awesome catch. And in the lakes, I honestly didn't even know they got that big, and that's actually really cool to hear that. Was that in the Lake Cumberland, or was that in more of a local pond?
No, I was in Lake Cumberland.
Okay, so I've heard of Lake Cumberland, and how big is that place? And
Oh,
we all
wow.
know it's got some history over there.
Yeah, I think it's 12, I'm wanting to say 1,256 miles of shoreline or something.
Whew.
It's huge. It covers 4 counties, like touches in 4 different counties.
Oh, that's
Uh,
that's that's a big spot.
yeah. It's a like in the top. It's in the top 10 of largest man-made lakes in the United States.
I hear that, man. That's a pretty big piece of water right there. And what else you got in there? You got crappie, you got bass, you got stripers, you got catfish. We covered that. Do you guys have trout and smallmouth over there?
We have trout, we have smallmouth, and we have walleye.
Mm,
Um, Also, some of the I think they're spoonbill cats, I believe they call them. Those are
okay.
down near the dam, though, and I don't live as close to the dam area, so it
Okay.
takes me a little while to get there. So I don't go down there and fish a whole lot, but
I hear you, man. Now, a lot of people ask me, I've had guys like Tyrone and Jason and other freshwater guys come on the show, and they're like, "Chris, you're a predominantly saltwater, angler. What is it about the freshwater that keeps you so intrigued and wanting to come back to it?" And it's just, if you're an angler, you really don't care what bites your line. When you feel that tug, no matter how big, no matter how small it is, it's just a pleasure of catching these different species. And when we're making the connections that we make, like I've met you through Tyrone on TikTok, and I started following you, seeing what you're doing, and we're going to talk about that tonight, definitely for sure. And it just intrigues me. All these guys around this country. Not everybody has access to the Pacific Ocean or the Atlantic Ocean or the Gulf of Mexico, and to see that I can go anywhere in this country and make a phone call and say, "Hey, Jared, I'm in Kentucky. What are we gonna go catch?" And you're just like, "Well, boy, hang on, we're gonna go catch something." And what I'm saying, and that's what I love about doing this. And to be able to have the connections that I'm making with these communities and this show and everything. I just think that this is awesome, and I think freshwater has a lot of species that a lot of people hear me talk about. Joe Cermelli, who's a buddy of mine, used to work for Field and Stream, and that guy has fished literally almost every state in this country, and he has caught some of the most amazing fish I've ever seen in my life. And for what you're doing out there, and I know you are into the bass fishing league, the BFLs, the Major League Fishing and stuff, and let's touch on that, man. So how did you get into that? What made you say, what, I'm gonna go ahead and give this a shot? What I'm saying, what entailed into that? What made you make that decision?
um, really, it's the challenge. I just really like a good challenge. Back when I used to work in factory, worked for a division of Toyota. I was maintenance engineer, programming robots and stuff for them, working on presses. All the maintenance guys, like a bunch of the maintenance guys, fished, and some of them fished tournaments in my county, but it was like 30-40 minute drive just to get to that part of my county, you know. And they were
Yeah.
like, man, you need to really like come down fishing tournaments with us on a Friday night. It's a cheap entry fee, $25, but you know, you can win 150 for big fish and win like, you know, $250-$300 if you win the whole thing. There's a bunch of people show up down there. Come on down, you know. And I hadn't had a boat too awful long. I really had to work and wait for a long time to actually get a bass boat. I was probably in my 30s,
Yeah.
45 now, by the way. And, you know, it just took a long time. I, you know, invested mostly and, you know, stuff like that rather than buy my own things. But when I finally got that bass boat, man, I got to where I was going out probably 5-6 nights a week and then getting in bed, getting up at 4 and going and working a 12-hour day for 6 days a week. So
Nah.
come Friday night, man, if I could get off work Saturday, I was like, you know what? I've been catching some pretty good fish. I've really like worked hard at trying to learn a certain section of the lake. You know, I think I've got them figured out enough to where I might be able to could do something and maybe I'll learn something from these other guys.
Yeah.
Well, I got down there, fished against them, got my butt whooped and handed to me for a whole year. I come like real close to getting, you know, all they pay is first and second place in big fish. That's it.
Yeah.
They ain't paying those spots way down, none of that stuff. And I'm like, man. And the guys that, you know, invited me, they started riding to give me a hard time, you know, like, oh, man, you ever going to win one? You ever going to bring in a good sack of fish, you know? And I was like, dude, I'm going out 5-6 nights a week. And I'm figuring these things out. So I stayed out there, and then finally got to where I could, you know, get big fish or sometimes get a second place or, you know, whatever. And it a really, really tough crowd of people to beat too, because these people grew up right there on that end of the lake. They have a real good name for being like really hard to beat and stuff. So even if I got close to second, I didn't hang my head when I went to the house. I was like, I've done something because these people been fishing since their daddy put them in diapers and put them on a boat, you know, and I didn't get out there till later. So that challenge and growing up watching bass tournaments, you know, as far as sports, man, I played a little baseball, played a very little basketball when I was younger on some intramural league stuff, but
Yeah.
nothing ever came of that. I loved playing. I just, you know, didn't
Yeah.
enjoy it as much as fishing. I was always out fishing rather than
Exactly.
practicing basketball and practicing baseball and all this.
That was
So
your craft.
the whole challenge part of fishing, I love it. And you know, get down there, you get ready to take off. It's like a huge NASCAR race or anything. You know, you get everybody takes off. You only got so much time to go out and get it done. You have to be back at the buoys, you know,
Mm.
by a certain time. So it's a
Yeah.
challenge to go out, take off, hurry up, slow down, fish your bait right, hurry up to the next spot, slow down, you know. And the challenge just, I don't know, I just wanted to do something a little bit bigger and better. And finally, I decided to fish the BFLs. I was like, I'm going to go for it, but I'm going to do it as a co-angler. I don't have all the newest electronics on my boat. You know,
Yeah.
got an older boat. It's a 96, you know, it's a 20 and a half foot boat, but it's just got old, you know, stuff on it for the most part.
I
So
hear you, man. But
I
as long
jumped
as
in.
you're getting out there, that's all that matters, right?
Right, right. I mean, it gets you there, it gets the job done. You know, it don't have to be beautiful. It's just, I don't think I have a trustworthy enough motor because it's an older motor. And my electronics, I've got one Helix 9 Gen
Uh-huh.
2 at the console, and I just flip that thing around if I want to look at it from the front, and I go back to the console to move spots, and I flip it back around the other way. I'm like, I'm not buying 15,000 in electronics right now.
Yeah, that's
I'm going
crazy.
to fish some of these other tournaments and enjoy some other things, and I got other things to take care of. This being one of them, DieHard Anglers. And I'll delay that gratification for later and do something about it later. So I started fishing the BFLs, fished them for a year, and I knew a bunch of guys that were fishing in the Toyota series that are friends
Okay.
of mine from here. And my buddy Josh Lockard, he's a pro fisherman on the Toyota series. side of things. And he was like, man, he's like, I think that you would really enjoy the Toyota series. We fished some really cool lakes. They started looking schedule, talking about it. A bunch of them were, and he's like, man, you need to go with us. We can room together. It'd be cheaper, and all that. You can stay with us. And he's like, you'll get around some pretty good quality anglers this way too, and be able to learn some good stuff from them. And I was like, hey, I bet you would, because it costs more to enter those tournaments.
Yeah.
And, I was like, well, it's only 3 of them, but they're 2-day events, and that was pretty interesting. Toward BFL, most of those are 1 day, except for like your super tournaments and stuff. So
I hear that.
it intrigued me, and they had Gunnersville, they had Chickamauga on the schedule, and Del Hollow that year. And I'd fished Del Hollow some, but it's not far from me. It's like an hour, but I just most of the time go fish here locally, and a couple smaller lakes, and that's about it. So I was like, yeah, these are bucket list lakes. Like for me, Gunnersville, Chickamauga, and then Chickamauga's been putting out some tanks. They had like,
Oh yeah, I've heard of Chickamauga.
yeah, they've been putting out like 100 and something bass over 10 pounds that weighed in one dock, during a year. So I was like, yeah, I want to go fish that.
Yeah, absolutely, man. But just to piggyback off of what you said before, you went into it, still kind of novice about it, and the good thing about what you did was you didn't get discouraged, and I think that's probably the number one killer of a lot of people's dreams is they get discouraged fast. They go a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and they don't become out on top, and they just start to say, "Ah, nah, I'm no good," but you stuck with it. You kept mastering your craft, and you kept pushing, you kept doing your thing, and you're still in the league with hanging out with the big dogs. And that I think that says a lot about your character with the dedication that you put into it, and I commend you for that. I mean, I know Major League Fishing is not what a lot of people think it is, and I have learned so much about the BFLs and the MLFs over the past year. Like we've mentioned Tyrone, and he has brought to light a lot of the things that people misconcept in Major League Fishing. A lot of people think that, okay, I'm going to join the MLF circuit and I'm going to get sponsors fall from the heavens and it's just going to start writing me checks, but they don't understand the legwork that it takes to become a Jacob Wheeler, a Mike Iaconelli. These guys are making hundreds of thousands of years, but they went 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years with a struggle. And, I think the misconception that people have of Major League Fishing, it's crazy. And I think what you're doing, what Tyrone is doing on these social media platforms and bringing this to the light of people so they can open their eyes and get a better understanding of what it actually is a very, very good thing. And it's a positive thing for people who get discouraged fast, because hey, just don't think you're gonna wake up one day and everything is poof. It just doesn't work like that. And I'm happy to bring this to the light, with having you on here. And you said you fished a co-angler for quite a while, and some of these stories I've heard about being a co-angler is absolutely insane. I don't have the kindness, I guess you can say, to keep my mouth shut and not say something when something wrong like that is happening. But like, what are some of the craziest things you've had a boater do to you as a co-angler? Uh-oh.
I mean, I've got a couple of good ones. For the most part, I've had good co-anglers, good boaters, and a lot of them have become friends of mine. We still stay in touch, shoot each other a text every once in a while, kind of thing, and just see how the other person's doing. We try to keep up with each other on social media. I've made some good friends that were my boaters. There's been a few instances that weren't. It's like I showed up at the wrong day for this boater. He just, wasn't in a good mood whenever I talked to him first thing in the morning, and met him or whatever. And he
Well,
lightened up over the day because, man, I try to be a talker. I get in the zone out there, but I try to talk to people too and get to know them, how many kids you got, what you do for a living. I kind of do that thing with people, but try to get them out of their shell a little bit. Sometimes they're weird about having some dude in the back of the boat, and they've got this perception from their buddies that, yeah, I got to call him a co-angler, like this little tag along, and, some of them have that perception, and I just kind of talk to them like, hey, I'm a human being too, so
exactly.
kind of thing. But I've kept my mouth shut several times when I didn't want to. That's to be truthful.
That's the maturity that you have.
Yeah.
And
I
and
try,
to be
man.
and to be honest with you, some of these things that I try to follow. I've been starting to try to follow the MLF, and some of these things that you see that these co-anglers are outperforming their boaters. And it's like, I don't know why they get offended about that, but it's just like, hey man, you're taking up the entire front of the boat. You're positioning the boat to where you want to do it, and the guy's in the back basically getting the scraps that you're letting him get and still getting it done. But you're sitting up there mad at him because you couldn't get it done. And I think that that's where they get, I guess, in my world, what I would say salty, because it's just like, I don't understand the concept of why you would hate on somebody who's doing better than you when they're put in a worse predicament, and it's just the the way that some of these guys treat you guys, it's just beyond ridiculous, man. But I do see that the clock is going, and one of the main reasons that attracted me to wanting to ask you to come on this show is because you, my friend, are doing something that I, for one, absolutely love. You are designing and creating a social media platform that is 100% for anglers. And that beautiful logo there in the background, diehardangler.com. I cannot wait until this goes live and see how it goes, man, because this is something, I want to see fish pics all day long. I want to see videos, but I don't want to see all the crap that comes in between that. This is going to be that all the time, man. So please have the floor and tell everybody what you got going on and what it's going to be.
I appreciate it, man. We worked real hard on the logo. I had to have everything exactly to a T the way I wanted it,
Yeah.
because I'm meticulous about things. But basically, man, I tried to get fishing sponsors. And, I'm not the best angler out there, but I'm very dedicated to the sport. I'm very dedicated to helping any company that tries to help me. And, I got a company to support me with some baits and stuff, a small company, J Bros Lures. Excellent
Okay.
baits. They're really getting ready to hit the scene hard, and everybody's going to know who they are because they make some great baits. And that's one reason I wanted to work with them, because it's him and his sons, J Bros for the brothers, you know, um, got behind me to supply me with baits and
Mm.
everything. So, I want to help them out. I want to show them, what I can do. But in the meantime, I've tried to get with a lot of other sponsors just to help offset the cost of not just the entry fees. I mean, it's more about your travel expenses. It's more about, you know, hotels, everything that comes with it. I mean, you
Oh
can be
yeah.
a wangler in the BFL, lowest level for $100. You can go fish, but it costs you $150 a night in a cheap motel to go stay and fish that tournament. And then it costs you, $100 in gas, no problem, just to go down somewhere and, stay and come back home, whatever. So, I mean, your expenses usually end up being 3 to 5 times what it cost you to enter a tournament. Now I'm doing the Toyota series as a co-angler. It's $550 for a 2-day tournament. There's more money to be able to be won with it. But
Yeah.
my expenses, are a little more because I'm going farther out away from home because it's
Exactly.
more regional rather than closer by with the BFLs. But trying to get sponsors and stuff, looking at the industry for years, I found out that advertising is where most of these companies are trying to outperform each other, trying to draw in their customer base, trying to get built up. And that's where most of them spend their dollars. And I got thinking, I'm tired of looking at, Aunt Betty's new dress. I use Aunt Betty all the time. You'll have to just kind of get used to that with me. But,
Yeah.
so, I get tired of looking at all the drama and all this and all that on these other platforms. And I thought, man, what mixes advertising with social media and blah, 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 and just fishing. And I got thinking, I thought, man, if I could have a place for anglers to see fishing 100% of the time, I could have my own social media. I could draw in advertisers that wouldn't be wasting their money, because whenever they pay on these other platforms, if Aunt Betty likes your fishing picture, guess what? Next thing you know, she's getting ads for fishing stuff. Like, she's going to be buying that.
Absolutely.
On my platform, I'm going to save those companies money. They're going to be advertising 100% to their target market, which is outdoorsmen. So I was like, hey, if I could get this developed and built, take the risk, go into debt, and pay somebody to have them to build this for me, I think the fishermen would get behind what I'm doing. They would help me market it, help me share it out. That would cut on my marketing cost. And the advertisers would want to advertise on our news feed because they're reaching their market, and it would cut their dollars way down. And I thought, how could I make this 10 times more appealing for any company out here to advertise on my platform? And I was like, I've got it. I was like, pro staff this, pro staff that. You get a discount at all these places. Well, I'm going to have a pro staff, but it's not going to be like everybody else's pro staff. I've got pro staff that are helping me to build this company because they believe in what I'm trying to do. Because once we get this up and running, I'm going to offer commissions for the anglers that are members. They can apply, see if they get qualified to actually make commissions, sharing a link that'll be a DieHard Anglers Network link to where they can sell products for companies just by sending people to their website through affiliate links and get paid. And nobody's trying to help people get paid, man. Sponsors ain't easy. I want to help these guys. I don't care if they make $10 or if they make $100 or if I make $500 in a month's time. That's money back in their pocket, not just a discount off of a product. I mean, I love, weight companies and bait companies and all that. But at some point, man, you need to put money into entry fees. You need to put gas in the tank or pay a hotel bill.
Yes.
I only need so many tungsten weights, or whatever. The discount's great, but, they're just really making more sales, not knocking anybody. Because, I mean, I understand they're helping the company and the company's helping them. But at some point, that doesn't get you anywhere. It didn't get me anywhere. And, I want to make sure my pro staff gets somewhere. And I'm like, hey, it's no secret these big social media companies make a lot of money. I just want to make a living. I don't want to be Mark Zuckerberg rich. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't want that responsibility. What I want to do is take that money and put it into programs to help anglers, whether it's vets, people with disabilities, regular anglers out here. I want to help them out too. As many ways as I can possibly help anglers, because I know how tough it is to get sponsors, man. It's too tough. So,
and a lot of these companies, not to cut you off, but a lot of these companies, they understand what they're doing, and they always win, because a lot of these companies, and I'm not saying names because I don't want to, downplay anybody, but a lot of these companies are not paying their fair share, because at the end of the day, some of these companies are getting their stuff from overseas, and it's literally costing them pennies to send you. Okay, I'll send you 10 packs of baits, but you gotta, make posts for a year. You gotta do this, you gotta do that. So they're literally paying you. It could be anywhere from 60 cents to $1.50 for you to give them advertising. Like advertising is one of the most expensive things in this country. So I've heard crazy numbers like a Super Bowl 30-second slot is anywhere between $5 to $8 million in advertising, and that's insane. And now, granted, guys like us, like me, you, I have a few hundred thousand, I have a few thousand followers on Instagram and all these social media platforms, but there are companies that, like, if you wanted to advertise on a radio station, let's say Q1043, that's going to cost you $3,000. But you want me to do it for a 15-cent pack of bakes? That's kind of not fair at the same time. So what you're doing, I commend so much because you're leveling the playing field, not only for the company but also for the angler. So that way everybody's getting a fair share, and that's what I love about what you're doing right now, and that's why I wanted to bring you on here so bad.
I appreciate it. I'm gonna try my best, man. I mean, it's nothing against none of these companies. I mean, I understand. Building a company is not easy. It's not a knock on companies that offer pro staff. I commend them,
Yeah.
for offering a discount to people that don't even work for them, or whatever. But they are going out and they are doing a lot of filming, and they're doing a lot
Oh,
of
absolutely.
lengthy editing and a lot of hashtagging and a lot of stuff like that, and not really getting paid their fair share, really.
Yeah.
And I don't the profit margin 100%, in
Yeah.
the fish industry. But I mean, a new customer comes and buys one rod and reel for $150. They buy $150 worth of baits. They come back 2 or 3 weeks or a month later and they buy $200 more worth of stuff. I mean, you've made $500 off of them in 2 months.
Yeah.
One order can easily be 500 for some people, and I don't have that spend on fishing gear every day, but some people do. And,
Absolutely.
the 20%, you know, I don't know, off of, like you said, a couple packs of baits, they really
Yeah.
got a good return there. And it's not a guarantee for them. I understand.
Yeah.
It's not a guarantee somebody's going to go pay that.
Yeah,
But
I hear you, man, and I don't want anybody who heard what I said to get the misconception of what I'm saying. I do believe in the pro staff program. Like, if it's like, there's certain companies that will try to say, okay, I'll give you baits and that's it. But then you have pro staffers like, for instance, I became a pro staffer for invasive lures. I thought that his deal was fair. It was, I'm not going to explain the terms of the deal, but it's like you have companies that will say, okay, look, I'm not going to give you stuff for free because I understand it as a business person as well, that things cost money to make, and I understand that. But he's like, for everything that you sell, I'm going to give you this much percent, and that's a fair deal. But then you got companies, especially the big companies. For a lot of people that don't know, there is a certain company that owns about 70% of the fishing market. And I'm not going to say the name, but we know what that is. And they're probably like some of the worst ones. They'll offer you this little tiny bit, but then want this. It's usually the little guys who are willing to go that extra mile to make sure everybody's happy. And again, to like what I'm saying, you're leveling the playing field, and I think that's a good thing.
I appreciate it. And I'll be honest with you, I don't really know who all these major companies are. The one
Yeah.
that owns 70% of the industry, I uh, I kind of got to guess, on who you're talking about there. But
Starts
uh,
with a P.
well, I think I know now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's nothing against any company. It's just I want to make it to where instead of people being pro staff and getting a discount, if they're out here working hard, promoting a company's products, that they'll be able to make a commission off those products. And nobody, one particular entity is offering exactly what I'm offering to do plus some. And I want to be the plus some. I found out there's a few companies that offer a commission type thing, but
Yeah.
they're not trying to be a hub for the entire industry, do all the things that we're going to be doing. When I created this 4 or 5 years ago, it sat in a notebook until I ended up closing another business that I wasn't happy doing.
Yeah.
Uh, didn't make a lot of money at it either, so I'm not a rich guy. So need all the help with everybody sharing this out as possible.
Absolutely, man. And again, I've been talking to you all week. I truly believe in what you're doing, and just from talking to you, we've been on this phone call. We've only been recording for about 35 minutes, but we've been on this phone call for over an hour. And I really love what you're doing, man. And all I can say is, watch out, Mark Zuckerberg. My man over here, Jared, is gonna kick your ass, buddy. But I love what you're doing, man. And I'm going to leave links down in the description below across all the platforms, whether it be the audio or the YouTube channel. And I want you guys to go check out Die Hard Anglers and subscribe, put your email in there. And when this thing goes live, I can tell you it is going to be big.
I sure hope so, man. I've had a lot of support on social media about what we're doing. I've had some Bassmaster Elite pros reach out to me. So we developed a pro team of Bassmaster, the elite guys and some other guys have reached out in support of what I'm doing, because there's a lot to this website. I mean, it would take me another hour to explain everything that it's actually going to do.
Yeah.
It's I tried to think of everything I would like to see in a social media platform as an angler, whether it be a bank angler that catfishes or crappie fishes or whatever. We're going to have discounts for products at, certain websites, and whoever comes on board. Some of them already have discussed being on board and some of them haven't, but it's to help all anglers. And if you're wanting to go and you're wanting to fish bass tournaments and stuff, I love bass fishing, so I've got quite a bit of bass fishing things in there. But like our resources page for travel, imagine going to one page when you decide to go travel somewhere instead of opening 13 pages to try
That's
to
freaking awesome.
stay. So that's what our resources page is, and it's going to have to be built out as we go. There's no data in it whenever we first start, but basically, say you wanted to come fish Lake Cumberland, you could type in Lake Cumberland on the resources page and find it. Open it up, it would show you a list of restaurants. It would show you a list of hotels. It would show you a list of marinas that you could get marine gas at. It would show you tackle shops, guides that you could hire if you just want to go on vacation, hire a guide in that area.
This is going to be awesome.
I'm going to put a link on there to that lake's website through the state, where the state actually tells you locking information, water temperature, all that. I'm going to put that link right there. And if you want to go off my page and go over and check all that out because you're wanting to travel, it's a convenience thing. I want it to all be in one place, and it'll take a while, and we're selling those ad spots. So anybody that's listening, you want to buy a whole year ad spot for your lake, for your tackle shop, your marina, whatever you own, reach out to us. You can get a hold of us on diehardanglers.com. Go to the About page, and you'll see what you can send me an email there and get a hold of me. We'll talk about advertising. With our news feed, we're limited it to 10 advertising spots on the news feed. They'll be scrolling news feed ads, just like, some of the other platforms that are out here that people visit. There's ads in between there. That's how I'm going to make somewhat of a living off of this and be able to help anglers in the meantime. It's definitely so.
I mean, I was already excited with the little bit that I knew about what Die Hard was gonna be, man. But now that we got a little bit more detail, dude, I'm freaking pumped. I can't wait to see this, and just to be able to have the resources there, know where to go, and I'm pretty sure you're gonna have identify what type of species are in these lakes and everything, just to be able to have that information in one spot. That's going to be a game changer. And this is going to be so big, man. And I hope you the absolute best of luck with this. And I can't wait to see it happen, man. And, thank you for your time and coming on this show. And I appreciate it, man. And I wish you the best of luck, guys. So check out the links down below and go follow diehardanglers.com. Take it easy, Jared. You have a good night, bud.
You too. Thanks for having me on.
Well, that was a good time for me sitting down with Jared and learning a little bit about his background, how he started fishing and got into it, and just the passion that he developed about it. I mean, what he's got coming out, what he's trying to bring to the table with diehardanglers.com. I mean, this is something that I believe will be something amazing. We all do it. We all go on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. We're all looking for that fishing pick when we can't be out on the water and trying to catch ourselves. We're all looking to see what everybody's doing. And if you're in one spot that can have all this information, whether you're traveling, whether it's local, you can see everything here. What he's bringing to the table is something next level. And this is something that I've been talking to him about for a while now, and I truly believe in what he's trying to do. And, I think that the way he's trying to give back to the angling community with what he's trying to do with leveling the playing field and making it a fair thing for everybody involved, not only companies but also the anglers that they're looking to sponsor. This is a very great thing. And Jared, you have my support 100% on what you're doing, and I wish you nothing but the best. And I hope that each and every one of you check out the links in the description below, or if you're listening, check out DieHardAnglers.com. This is something that I believe is going to take the internet by storm with our community of outdoorsmen. Whether you're a hunter, a fisherman, a camper, whatever it is that you like to do, I strongly believe that this is going to be something that's going to skyrocket. And I hope you guys all check it out. Hope you guys enjoyed today's episode, and I'm out. Tight lines.